Hey everybody, Justin Cook here. I wanted to use today's video to talk about an upcoming movie that I feel like plenty of people have questions about and could probably use a bit of a rundown on, and that movie is James Gunn's sequel to 2016 Suicide Squad, which is being called The Suicide Squad. Now, if you're unsure how exactly The Suicide Squad fits into the larger DC Extended Universe continuity, who's starring in it, when we could expect to see a teaser, etc., this is the video for you, because I'm just going to be running through everything we know about the movie so far. Ready? Let's get started. So let's start from the beginning. Suicide Squad may have been one of the more laughed at and maligned movies of 2016, but it was commercially successful. In fact, very commercially successful, grossing close to $750 million at the worldwide box office on a $175 million budget. Even before the film was released, DC already planned on making a Suicide Squad sequel, with director David Ayer returning to helm the project. But David Ayer eventually dropped out to pursue a spin-off film, Gotham City Sirens, and introduce the world to an orc cop, leaving the accountant director Gavin O'Connor to fill the director's seat. But not before long, O'Connor dropped out and the entire film was delayed because of the script's similarity to Birds of Prey. But then, in 2018, a miraculously unexpected thing happened, and James Gunn, director of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, was fired from Marvel, giving DC the bright idea to snatch him up and write and direct Suicide Squad 2. Ever since Gunn boarded the project, things have been moving at a much quicker rate. The film is slated for an August 6, 2021 release date, leaving it plenty of time to flourish into a movie that's hopefully better than the franchise's previous outing. Also, as a side note, Man of Steel and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice director Zack Snyder, along with his wife Deborah, are both set to produce the sequel, and they executive produced the first film as well. However, what's remained uncertain through all of this is a relatively simple question. Is the Suicide Squad a reboot or a direct sequel to Suicide Squad? And quite honestly, we don't necessarily have an answer. In an interview with producer Peter Safran, he called the film, quote, a total reboot, which is why it's not being called Suicide Squad 2, and another report used the word relaunch to describe the movie. On the other hand, more recently, when asked this very question, James Gunn was a little bit more vague and said, quote, you know, these terms are also narrow. There's so many terms. It is what it is. You'll see in 2 years when it comes out, end quote. So, not exactly on the same page. If I were to hazard a guess, I'd say the film will largely ignore the events of Suicide Squad, but perhaps not necessarily pretend that they never happened. What's clear to me is that Gunn has written a script that is completely his own, and I can imagine hardly feels bogged down by honoring the continuity of the previous film. It seems safe to assume that the sequel will be a much different film that exists in a universe where the events of the first film are still canon. Overall, on this front, we'll have to wait to find out more. Casting has been underway on the sequel for the past few months, which makes sense since filming is expected to begin this September. For a movie that has been called a reboot, the cast sure features a lot of familiar faces. Despite some initial confusion, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is expected to return, marking her third performance as Quinn following 2020's Birds of Prey, as is Jai Courtney's Captain Boomerang, Viola Davis's Amanda Waller, and Joel Kinnaman's Rick Flag. The character of Deadshot was also set to return, with Idris Elba replacing Will Smith, who cited scheduling conflicts as his reason for not returning, but in April 2019, it was reported that Elba will no longer be assuming the role of Deadshot, and instead would play a new character, leaving the door open for Smith to return for a future film. In fact, Elba was so gung-ho about joining the film that the actor agreed on the spot to come on board during his first meeting with James Gunn. Some rumors have suggested that he may take on the character of Bronze Tiger, a great martial artist, who in the comics becomes the second in command of the Suicide Squad under Rick Flag. As for the new recruits, two exciting new additions are actor David Dastmalchian as the Polka Dot Man, and Portuguese actress Danielle Melchior as Ratcatcher. This film actually marks Dastmalchian's return to the world of DC movie making since he was in The Dark Knight, but he's also now part of an elite group of actors to star in both MCU and DCAU movies, since he plays Kurt in the Ant-Man franchise. He's also worked with Gunn before on the Belko Experiment. The Polka Dot Man is certainly an obscure, odd Batman villain whose crimes always surround the theme of polka dots, and whose costume contains dots that can be turned into weapons. Melchior's Ratcatcher, on the other hand, being gender swapped for the movie, is a Ratcatcher in Gotham City who is essentially Ant-Man but with rats, being able to control an army of rats with the help of a whistle. In addition to the two of them, none other than John Cena, who's been making even more of a jump to the big screen recently with Blockers and Bumblebee, is being eyed for a role in the sequel, according to Variety, which would make the Suicide Squad his first comic book role. While those are the actors that we know for sure are involved, there clearly are quite a few parts still to be cast, with the full reported Suicide Squad lineup for the film also including King Shark, a humanoid shark with sonar capabilities and superhuman strength, and Peacemaker, a pacifist who often resorts to violence on his quest for peace. It's believed that Cena will end up playing Peacemaker, a role that, interestingly enough, was rumored to be originally intended for Dave Bautista, who talked with Gunn about the film but had to drop out, And Gunn's longtime collaborator Michael Rooker's name has been tossed around much more loosely for the role of King Shark, although he squashed those rumors last month. Some rumors have also claimed that Benicio del Toro would be joining the film as its main antagonist, a character codenamed the General. On the villain front, however, Kevin Smith recently said on his podcast that he knows who the villain for the movie is, and while he didn't offer up who it is, he did call the villain, quote, phenomenal, and in the right hands with James Gunn. And besides that, the rest of the film is mostly a mystery. The plot is being kept entirely under wraps, and of course filming will begin in the fall in Atlanta, so it will be a little while before we get a trailer. On the trailer front though, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little teaser, sort of like the 20-second Birds of Prey one that showed off the actors in their costumes when principal photography on that movie began, so that DC can essentially start building up hype early and start building up some goodwill from the people who were, let's say, let down by Suicide Squad, to say the least. For that reason, I'd say we could see a short behind-the-scenes teaser as soon as this fall, but don't hold me to that, especially because although reports suggest shooting will start in September, something tells me that date might be a bit unnecessarily soon, because it would leave a massive amount of time for post-production, so it could be pushed back. To give you an idea, Birds of Prey started shooting a year before its expected release, and for the Suicide Squad, September would be closer to 2 years before its expected release. And lastly, the film's rating is still a mystery too, but considering that many people wanted an R rating for the first Suicide Squad movie, and James Gunn has quite a bit of experience directing and producing R-rated films, it doesn't seem outside the realm of possibility. Although it's always safe to assume a comic book movie will be PG-13 unless otherwise stated. And that's everything we know so far about the Suicide Squad sequel. Do you have any other questions about the Suicide Squad? I could try my best to answer them below. Also, are you excited for the Suicide Squad? Is it too little too late? Are you happy James Gunn is writing and directing? Sound off below, always want to hear what you guys think. Thank you all so much for watching, and be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more movie and TV related content. I'm Justin Cook, and I'll see you next time.